It's Ash from SuperVideos back for another video for The Last of Us on HBO. This is going to be my trailer or preview breakdown for the upcoming episode, Season 1, Episode 3, which is called Long Time. As expected, this episode is going to be a Bill and Frank centric episode, and it's going to give us a backstory for these two characters. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break this down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. So this teaser actually starts with this shot of Bill. Obviously, for those of you who have played the game, Bill and Frank are pretty important characters, or at least Bill is. When it comes to part 1 of the game, we didn't actually see Frank in part 1, but it seems like they're changing that, and we're actually going to see a Bill and Frank backstory, and we're going to see what happened to Frank, which is super cool. I did think that this episode will be a solely Bill and Frank centered story, but it seems like we're still going to get a bit of Joel and Ellie as well, which is super awesome. But this teaser starts with this shot of Bill looking at some security cameras. Now these could either be security cameras that he's set himself, or it could be him watching some security cameras that are elsewhere. The reason why I'm saying that is because we actually do see soldiers here, so this is definitely interesting. It seems like maybe he was able to get a hold of some camera footage from other places which he's watching, so that's super awesome. Now, one thing I do know based on some behind the scenes information, he's actually watching clips related to the Hunters. The Hunters were a group that were obviously in part 1, but they weren't focused on. But we're gonna see a big focus in the TV adaptation. And they're somehow gonna connect that to Bill's story, which is super interesting. But obviously we do see Bill carries a lot of weapons, so that's super cool. But he hears something and he says, "Not today, you New World Order jackboots." So obviously we know the type of character Bill is, we know the personality that he has, and it seems like they're translating that pretty well in the TV adaptation. But then we see him doing some work to build something. I'm assuming that he's building some of those traps that we also saw in the video game. In fact, he might actually have used those traps on Frank, and I'll explain what I mean. But we see him here, he's approaching a pit, and as he approaches the pit, we see right here Frank is inside of that pit. So I'm assuming that this is also related to one of Frank's traps, and this is when Frank and Bill meet for the first time. And in the voiceover he says, "My name is Frank," and then we have Bill saying, "Here's the thing, Frank. If I feed you, then every bum you talk to about it is gonna show up here looking for a free lunch." And he's obviously picking up a carrot, so he has his own food. So that's pretty interesting. Something that they didn't really explore quite as much in the game, but they're definitely giving it to us in the TV adaptation. And we see Bill here eating by himself, and then we see him with a gun pointed at Frank, and he says, "And this is not an Arby's," to which Frank replies with, "Arby's didn't have free lunch, it was a restaurant." So a pretty comedic scene with the two of them. And then we see Ellie here. Now look at where they are. It seems like maybe this is the part of the story where they're attacked, and this is where Joel uses that sniper rifle. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's where this is. And then we see her picking up a gun from inside a drawer. So Ellie has a gun now, so that's super cool. And then we see this shot of what appears to be Frank and Ellie, and also obviously Joel and Bill. So it seems like Frank is not going to be dead when we meet them. So Bill and Frank are going to be together, so that's super cool. But in the voiceover, Joel tells Bill sooner or later there'll be raiders. They'll come at night, quiet, unarmed. And we see obviously people running. I'm assuming these are the raiders that they were talking about. And then we see this, not exactly sure what this is. Like it's some sort of a radio, but at the same time it looks like a device of some sort. Not exactly sure what it is. And then we have this shot of Bill. It looks like he's not doing well, and he says, "Call Joel." So that's interesting. Wonder what this is about. And then we have Joel and Ellie here together. We see them looking at these skulls and bones on the ground. And then we see what appears to be an electric fence. I'm assuming this is also part of Bill's traps that he's set up. And then we see this shot of Bill with a rifle and then Frank approaching, and then we see another shot of someone going through the fence and getting electrocuted, and then we see Bill here shooting his sniper rifle, and then we have Frank here. Looks like he's not doing well here either, just like Bill in the earlier shot. So this might be the scene where they might get infected and we might see a different type of story play out with the two of them. And then we see some sort of a crash. I think this is Bill involved in this crash. We see here as well. Obviously, this matches the same truck that we saw in the game, the one that was given to Joel to drive Ellie away. And then we see Ellie here with a knife, and then we see in the next shot, she's actually looking at this infected on the ground, so that's pretty cool. And then we have this final shot of Bill answering Joel and telling him we'll be fine. And this is obviously a response to what he was saying about raiders coming to get them and all of that. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to go through in this video. Not a lot to go through. We know this is a Bill and Frank centric story or episode, but we know Joel and Ellie are gonna be there as well. And it appears that they're gonna get there. Bill and Frank are both gonna be there, and then something's gonna happen to them after Joel and Ellie leave. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.